Interview. My name is Kevin Shortt, and I'm the story designer for James Cameron's Avatar, the video game. It was a great experience creating the story for the game. The great thing was I worked a lot with James Cameron and his team, John Landau, the producer of the film. First thing we did was they gave us all the information from the film. We got the script, we got the scriptment, which is this very detailed treatment that Cameron does, and I just kind of immersed myself in the world of Pandora. And the one thing that Cameron said early on was, I don't want a repeat of the film. I don't want you to just take the film story and put it in the game. I want you to come up with a brand new story. I want to expand the universe of Pandora. And then basically he just kind of handed it over to us, which was exciting. It's great. As a writer, you're like, this is fantastic. I've just got the world of Pandora to deal with and I can go nuts. But then it's also pretty daunting because you're like, I then have to turn around and present this to James Cameron and hope he buys off on it. So I worked with two other writers and we brainstormed on some ideas and finally came up with the one that we felt was right. Presented it to Cameron and he bought off on it. He loved it. Writing a story for a game is very different than, say, a film or a play or a novel or anything, because the player is completely involved in the story. It's not passive in any sense. It's tricky because you want them to kind of go that way, but they're like, hey, look over there, and off they go. So it's a real challenge to figure out how do we kind of nudge them in the right way. It's one of those things that honestly I think that we're still trying to figure out how to do right in video games. I feel like we're a long way off from getting it right. I don't think it's like we've got bad writers or anything like that. I think it's just that it's really tricky. It's really hard. How do you hand over control to the player and yet still guide them through an experience that doesn't feel authored but is authored? We just have to keep at it. It's kind of like if I made a comparison, say, to film. They didn't get the language of film until, say, like around D.W. Griffith, right? That was in the 20s. When finally they were like, okay, hey, we can edit our film together, and then they created a language for film storytelling. We haven't even created our language yet. So I think that's what we're wrestling with. So we've got a long way to go, I think, before we've nailed it, but we're getting there. And I think Avatar feels like it's one step closer. The story of the game happens 2 years before the movie. We did that for a couple reasons. One, we just didn't want any overlap with the film. The last thing we want is for the player to be afraid to even try the game because it's going to ruin their movie experience. No, you can play this game safely and nothing will be revealed about the movie. You will still have the fantastic, great experience with no spoilers. Likewise, we wanted to be close enough to the film that we could then introduce characters that you recognize from the film into the game. So, because we're 2 years apart, we've got Sigourney Weaver, who plays Grace Augustine in the film. She's in the game. Michelle Rodriguez, she plays your chopper pilot. Stephen Lang, he makes an appearance as a commander in the game. So we were able to do a little back and forth because of that slight gap. We didn't pick up any specific plot points from the film. The reason was we just didn't want any spoilers. So we were very careful. Cameron as well. In fact, there were a couple times where we were like, hey, let's do a little nod to the film. And Cameron would be like, no, take it out, take it out. Okay, yep, fair enough. That's, we understand that he wants the movie to be its own unique experience. The themes that Cameron touches on in the film are certainly reflected in the game. We did it in our own unique way, but because we're dealing with the same world that he's created, we've got the same assets, the same type of characters, the same inherent conflicts. We stayed true to that. That was important, that we wanted to show more of the universe, expand on the universe. We don't tell you what the right thing is. We don't say, this is the right thing, this is what you have to do to make the right choice. We wanted the player to really decide that on their own. What I do really like that we did in this game that's a little different than I've done before was the fact that the choice that you have to make in the game happens so early on that the game splits right away. And we really tackled that as two completely different stories. And it was hell. It was like we didn't like it at the time. We're like, this is nuts. How are we going to handle this? We wanted to break it off and have them go their separate ways, but run in parallel because the stories kind of meet up at the end again. So it was a real challenge to sort of juggle those things with just 3 writers. It was daunting, but I'm pretty proud of what we pulled off on that. James Cameron's Avatar, the game, is coming out December 1st, 2009 on PS3, Xbox 360, PC. Those are all one story. Then you've got a Wii, DS, and PSP, and those all have their own stories. Rich world.